Today we're going to learn our first lesson in chapter 2, and then we're going to combine 2-2 and 2-3 because it's adding and subtracting integers, and you should already know this stuff. Yes? Yeah. Adding and subtracting integers. What else will do it for you? Your calculator. So the only thing kind of new today is maybe some property rules that y'all might not have learned in 7th grade, and we're going to add in some variables. So I'll make sure that y'all are good with that. All right, who remembers when you add and your signs are the same, what do?
Change it.
Okay, let me give you an example. 5 plus 5, what do? So I add and I keep the sign of the positive number, yes? Negative 5 plus negative 5,
You keep the same sign.
I add and I keep the sign, so it would be negative 10. All right. Add and keep the sign. I'm going to say it again. Positive 10 plus positive 10 is positive 20. Negative 10 plus negative 10 is negative 20. You add and keep the sign. Okay, what do you do when the signs are different? Let me give you all an example before you start shouting stuff out. Like, what am I going to do if I'm adding negative 2 plus 3?
The sign that's higher.
So I do what first?
Keep the sign that's higher.
I subtract first and then keep the sign of the heavier number, right? You want to say larger, but technically that's not the right way to say it. But y'all know what I mean, yes? So you actually find the difference. You subtract and take the sign of the, and I'm going to put larger in parentheses, but technically it's not always larger. It's kind of more heavier weighted, yes, of the larger number. Now, again, your calculator will do all of this for you, but you should know this, yes? All right, we're going to go over some basic properties of addition. This only works for addition. The commutative property of addition is when the order changes, but your answer doesn't. I'm going to say it again. The commutative property of addition. It's because you're adding, it's basically saying it doesn't matter what order it's in. You will get the same answer. So let me give you all an example. If I have 2 plus 3 in parentheses plus 4 outside of parentheses, it's going to equal 2 plus 4 in parentheses plus 3. You'll get the same answer. So it doesn't matter what order you do it in, you're going to get the same answer because it's addition. And that's what the commutative property says. Make sense? Okay. The associative property is where the order stays the same, but the numbers in the parentheses changes. So the order stays the same, but the number in the parentheses changes. You will still get the same answer. So that's what associative property of addition is saying, that it doesn't matter if you change the parentheses, you're going to get the same answer. Okay, so let's do an example. If I have 2 plus 3 in parentheses and plus 4 on the outside, then I'm not going to change the order. So it's still going to be 2 plus 3 plus 4, but this time I'm going to put the parentheses around the 3 plus 4. So it's basically saying it doesn't matter if you do that, the answer will stay the same because it's addition. The last two properties are super easy. The identity property basically says anything you add 0 to, you're going to get the same number, right? So if you add 0, you'll get the same number. So for example, if I add 5 plus 0, I'm going to get the same number of 5. And the inverse property is when you, this is the really easy one too, it's when you add the opposite number, you'll get 0. You'll zero out. So y'all know what's the opposite of 5? So if you add those together, what happens? You zero out. So that's the inverse property. It's when you add the opposite number, you'll get 0. So for example, 5 plus negative 5 is going to zero out. Okay, I'm going to let you take about 30 seconds to a minute to see if you can figure out which property these are going over. If you're writing in pen, maybe just put an A or C. That way if you get it wrong, because I'll go over it. You see what I'm saying? Okay, see if y'all can identify them super quick. Go. All right, what did y'all think for this first one? So half of you are saying commutative, half of you are saying associative. Okay, let's look at it. So it's 8 plus 3 plus 4, and then it's 8 plus 4 plus 3. Did the order change? So if the order changes, it's what? Commutative. Okay, look at the next one. Did the order change? No, but the parentheses did, so it is associative. And then the last two are easy. Y'all shouldn't have missed those. This one is inverse because you're getting 0 by adding the opposite, and this is identity because you're getting the same number. So the only two that might confuse you is associative and commutative, right? Just remember, commutative, the order changes, and then you won't miss anything. All right, now we're getting into the good stuff. This is where you add and subtract integers, but we're throwing in variables. So what I need y'all to understand is that you can only add and subtract if they are like terms. What does it mean to be a like term? Yeah, so, but not just any variable. X's can only be combined with X's. Y's can only be combined with Y's. Z's with Z's. A's with A's. If it's mixed up, like AB, AB's can only be combined with AB's. But we're not going to do anything that difficult today, okay? Regular numbers can only be combined with regular numbers. Do y'all understand the rules?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so when I'm adding this, do both of these have an X on them? So I can combine them because they both have X's, yes? Now, if you know your rules, you simply add 2 plus negative 4, which is? Oh, we need to use our calculators, some of us. Y'all get y'all big school buses out and put them in, okay? The rest of you who know how to do integers in your head, we're all right. 2 plus negative 4 is? Negative 2. Some of us need to use these. Okay? Now, what I do need to show you is that when you put this in your calculator, do not put the X in. Just make sure you know that the X will go in your answer. So I would simply put in 2 plus negative 4, and it will give me negative 2. And then I put the X in my answer. Make sense? All right, let's do the next one. This one. Can I combine them, yes or no? Why? They both have X's. Negative 5 plus negative 3 is negative 8. Please use your calculator if you can't do this. This whole lesson is called adding and subtracting. We good? All right. And then do you see this sign right here?
Plus.
We good? Okay. All right. The next one. Are these both X's? Yes. Okay. Now, if we're going to do this in our head, what do y'all think we should do with that minus sign? Change. Keep change, right? If you were going to do it in your head, you would keep change, and it would become -2 plus -4, which is -6x. If you were going to do it in your calculator, which by the sounds of it, 90% of you should be using your calculator. So we would do -2 minus 4, and you would get -6. Could you put in -2 plus -4?
Yes.
Okay, moving on. What can I combine in this next problem? 1x plus 3x. Notice that when I highlighted the sign in front of the 3 because that lets me know if it's going to be a positive or a negative value. Yes? So I have 3x's plus 1x. How much do I have? I got 4x's. What am I going to do with this leftover number? Just stick it like that. Could I have written this -4 plus 4x? That's the exact same thing. Again, what property is that we just learned that means the same thing? The commutative property, that I could write this that way and it means the same thing. Yes? So when we're grading papers tomorrow, I'm not going to have a whole bunch of people, Miss Castro, they wrote -4 plus 4x. It's the same thing. Okay? Same thing. All right, moving on. The next section. The title says evaluate. Who knows what evaluate means? All right, it means solve. It means that you're going to get an answer. Okay, now what they gave you is an expression. It's not an equation. So you're not going to solve an equation. But what they did give you is the value that they want you to plug in for the variable. So if you look at this first problem, there's a semicolon, meaning that's the problem. But they want you to plug in what for x? 3.5. Now, y'all think this is easy. I think it's easy. But every year students fail this assignment because they refuse to do what I'm teaching. So please, please, please stop and listen right now. Where it gets confusing is when you're dealing with negatives and subtraction signs. So in order to stop all confusion, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write from left to right exactly what it says. So what would I write first? Okay, now what would I write? Plus. Now what? Open parentheses. Now what? Negative. Now what? 3.5, because that's what they want me to put for x. Now what? Okay, now plus and then -2. When you put this in your calculator, you're going to put it in exactly how you wrote it. Okay? So here we go. Everybody get your calculator.
That semicolon means nothing, right?
The semicolon's there to show you that you're done with the expression and then here's the value of x. Okay? All right, here we go. 2.5 plus, everybody know where the parentheses are? Above 8 and 9. So open parentheses, -3.5, close. Okay, did everybody get -3?
Maybe an error.
Okay, if you got an error, you probably put in a subtraction sign for one of those negative signs. Okay, so my answer is -3. If you put a subtraction sign in, when it's a negative, you're going to miss it. It's going to give you an error. And if you have one of these calculators, it will solve it, but it will solve it wrong. It will put it in as a multiplication problem. So just so y'all know. All right, this one. Left to right. Here we go. How am I going to write this? 2 2/3. How would I write multiplied by x? I don't want to use an x. Parentheses are great. Could I also use a dot? Yeah, either way, I do not care. I like parentheses, so I'm going to do it like this. But a dot is perfectly fine. Plus 3 minus 4 1/5 times 2. Now, on your calculator cheat sheets that I gave y'all, the green sheets, right? It tells you, you don't have to get it out, but just so you know, it tells you how to put in fractions. I'm going to show you right here, if you want to write it, you're going to use alpha y equals. So everybody get your calculator and push the green alpha button, and then hit the top left y equals button. This screen should pop up, yes? Did it just take you to y equals? It's because you didn't put the green button first. You probably, when you hit alpha, you probably didn't mash it hard enough. Okay, quiet please. Option 1, don't push it, I'm going to show y'all, is for a basic fraction, like a numerator and denominator. Option 2 is for a mixed fraction. Okay, so I'm going to choose option 2. I'm going to put in 2 2/3, and you use the arrows to tab over. So 2 2/3. Now, you must arrow out. See how I'm in the denominator right now? I must arrow out before I put in my multiply by 2. I can use parentheses and my calculator knows to multiply, or I can use the multiplication button. It does not matter. Are we good? So plus 3 minus, now how am I going to put in 4 1/5? Alpha y equals option 2, 4 1/5. Tab out times 2. Your calculator will solve it, and it knows order of operation, so it will get it correct if you put it incorrect. Okay, so what's my answer? Negative 115. Now, just so y'all know, your calculator will also change your answer to a decimal if you want it as a decimal by pushing this math button. So you'll see the math button. If you hit math and you choose option 1, it'll change whatever to a fraction. If you choose option 2, it will change it to a decimal. So obviously we want to keep that as a fraction because I'm not going to write that. Are we good? Questions? Flip to the back. Quiet, please. Okay, at the top, for subtraction, what was the rule? We did it already on the front. Keep, change, change. So that right here. So basically you change the subtraction sign to addition. And then you change the sign of the second number. And then you just use the addition rules. You learned all of this in 6th and 7th grade. Okay, so just real quick, I just want to make sure y'all are good with this. 3 minus 2, what's the answer? Okay. If it's a subtraction sign, can I always do change, change and get the same answer? Yes, so 3 minus 2, could I do change, change and still get the same answer? So you can use change, change anytime there's a subtraction sign. Anytime you want to. Okay? Are we good? All right, moving on. What's this next section say? What does that mean? All right, here's where it gets tricky. You need to pay attention. Why do you think someone might mess up on this one? There's a y and x. What else? There's a minus sign, and then X is, so this is where, boys, this is where you must go from left to right and put it in exactly how I'm telling you to. All right, so here we go. What am I going to write for Y? What does the expression tell me to write next? Minus. What is the value of X? -2. That right there is where most students will mess up. So that's what you really need to make sure you're paying attention to. And then plus 6.8. And then simply go put that in your calculator. And you get positive 16. Notice in my calculator I put in minus negative. Could I have changed change and put it in as a plus sign? Yes. Would I get the same answer? Yes. So it is totally up to you how you put it in your calculator. Okay, try filling in the next one on your own. You don't have to type it in your calculator yet. Just see if you can set it up correctly. Very quick, go. Okay, let's make sure you've set it up correctly. What was the first thing you should have written? So it's negative, and then what is 8? What is X? 8.8. Okay, now what? Hold on. Now what? That's a negative. That's not a negative sign? Guys, if it's between two numbers, it has to be a command. You can't say, hey, -3 minus -3. Like, what? How would you read this to me? You would read that 3 -2? Because it's between two numbers, it is a command. Yes? Okay. This is a minus sign. All right, now I put in Y. What is Y? -1.4 plus 2.3. Could you change if you wanted to? Yes. Do you have to with your calculator? No, it's totally up to you. If I want, I could go like this and put it in -8.8 plus 1.4 plus 2.3. What'd y'all get? Try the next one on your own. Do you see where you messed up? Okay. So do y'all see that the calculator makes it easy, but if you can't push the numbers in right, it's not going to give you the right answer. Set the next one up correctly. Hey, what does this mean right here? Multiply, right? When they're next to each other? Multiply. Which technically shouldn't even be in this lesson because it's adding and subtracting, but it's here. All right, here we go. Negative. Now X. What's X? 1/2. Times. I'm going to use parentheses. 1/4 plus 1/4. Could you put in 0.5 and 0.25? Yeah. Does it matter? No. If you have it, you can put your negative first. Then alpha y equals option 1. Tab out. Alpha y equals. You might need to trade your calculator out in the library first. Yeah. I'll let you use one of mine right now. Go ask them just sometimes when you see those pretty out, just say the functions won't work. Okay. Oh, that's why. Okay. So technically speaking, you could still use it. Let me show you. You know that a fraction is just a division problem. same thing. All right, everybody got 1/8. Do the next one. Check it with mine. Everybody got it correct? 1.104? Okay, the word problem. This is on your assignment today, so make sure you're paying attention. The temperature at noon was 63 degrees. The temperature at midnight was negative 21 degrees. What was the change in temperature? What does change mean in math? So we know right now we're going to subtract. So somebody tell me, how would I set this up? 63
Negative 21.
minus negative 21. And I actually will change, and this now becomes a what?
Positive.
Addition problem, and 63 plus 21 is 84 degrees. Now, for those of you who are like, how does that make sense when it was a change in temperature? Let's look at it on a thermometer. So here is a temperature reader. Zero's here, yes. Where would 63 be? Above 0, right up here. Where would negative 21 be? Okay. To change the temperature from negative 21 to 0, how far did I change? I went up 21 degrees. And then from 0 to 63, I went up 63 more degrees. So that altogether is equal to 84, yes? That's why it makes sense. Okay, I'm going to pass out the assignment. Your calculator is going to do most of the work on tonight's homework. But y'all got to know how to use it. Okay, put your name on it. Hey guys, boys, I don't want to have to raise my voice anymore. Get your paper, put your name on it, and let's go through and make sure we know the direction so that we do good on our assignments. Name at the top right now. Why are we waiting to pass? Let's go. Okay. The top part says find the sum. Your calculator will do 1 through 6 without you doing anything but pushing buttons. But 7 through 9, what is different? There's variables. So x's can only be combined with, so this can only be combined with this. So what is negative 10 plus 18? 8x. What do I do with this leftover stuff? Just stick it on there, right? Could I write minus 23? Could I write plus negative 23? Are they the same answer? Yes. Okay, questions on that? Number 10 through, yes, sir?
Is that just answer doing that?
There's nothing else you can do because they did not give you the value of x. Everybody hear that? Okay. On 10 through 15, they do give you the value of x. So your job is to evaluate, which means because they gave you the value of x for each problem. So this is where I want you to write it out before you put it in your calculator, because you will mess up if you don't. Does everybody understand? Go down to number 16. Number 16 is an easy word problem. What is this whole paper titled? Our notes today. So what do you think you're going to do in your word problems? Okay, there you go. You're going to be adding and subtracting. Okay, at the bottom, the calculator will do every single one of them. But some of you are going to go, oh, look, that's a minus minus. No, it's not. How would you read this out loud? That's how you put it in your calculator. The way you would read it will tell you which buttons to push. Could you also change? Change. Yes, it's up to you, okay? Turn to the back. 21 through 26, what does it say to do? What does that mean? And look at where the value of x and y is. So for every problem, x is negative 6.4 and y is positive 10.8. Are we good? All right, 27 and 28, find the change in temperature. What does change mean? Subtract. Don't go do 15 minus 5. It's 15 minus negative 5. And then the word problems, guys, they're easy. What is this whole paper over? Adding and subtracting. So that's what they're all about. Are y'all good? All right, get busy.